2 hours had passed since our 7 p.m. reservation. My wife, Ashley, hadn't just forgotten our 10th anniversary. She hadn't even checked her phone. The waiter approached me, his expression one of quiet pity, the kind reserved for guests left waiting too long. "Mr. Collins, would you like me to wrap the ring box?" I glanced at the velvet box holding the upgraded diamond Ashley had been hinting about for months. "No," I said, my voice steady. "But I would like to see the security footage from the staff entrance." His eyebrows rose in surprise. Ashley had been frequenting this restaurant for business lunches, always insisting on using the discreet side entrance, claiming it was closer to her office. "Sir, I'm not sure I can." "Thomas," I interrupted, "I've been coming here for 10 years. You catered my wedding." I pulled out my phone and showed him the tracking app I'd installed last week after finding a suspicious receipt in Ashley's coat. "My wife is here. Just not with me." He hesitated, then nodded. "Follow me." The security footage showed exactly what I expected. Ashley slipping in through the side entrance 40 minutes earlier, laughing as her business lunch partner guided her to a private dining room with his hand resting low on her back. I recognized him immediately, Marcus Wheeler, the new VP of Sales. The same man she'd been working late nights with for the past 3 months. "There, in the blue room," Thomas said quietly. "It's a standing weekly reservation. Usually Thursdays, but Mr. Wheeler called this morning to change it to today. Said it was a special occasion. My anniversary." "They were celebrating my anniversary in the restaurant that catered my wedding," I said, more to myself than anyone else. "The champagne they ordered, is it the same as what's on my table?" Thomas checked his tablet. "Yes, sir. Mrs. Collins always says it's her favorite." "Interesting," I said, my voice calm. "She told me last week she developed an allergy to that brand." I straightened my tie. "Thomas, I'm going to need a favor." "Of course, sir." "First, charge everything they order to my account." "Everything." He nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Second, I want you to deliver this to their table." I handed him the ring box. "Tell them it's compliments of the gentleman at table 12. "And you, sir?" I smiled, though it lacked warmth. "I'll be at the bar. I want to see their faces when they realize their private celebration isn't so private anymore." Thomas executed the plan flawlessly. From the bar, I watched as he entered their private room, just as Marcus poured a second glass of champagne. Ashley sat too close to him for anything resembling a professional dinner, her wedding ring conspicuously absent. "Compliments of the gentleman at table 12, Thomas announced, placing the velvet box between them. "He specifically requested you open it now." Ashley's confusion turned to recognition as she saw the familiar box from the jeweler she'd been hinting about for months. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. "Weird," Marcus muttered, clearly annoyed. "Must be a mistake." "No mistake, sir," Thomas replied smoothly. Mr. Collins was quite specific. The color drained from Ashley's face. "Tom, my husband is here." "At table 12, madam," Thomas replied. "Though I believe he's moved to the bar now. He thought you might prefer the view from there when you opened his anniversary gift." Marcus adjusted his tie nervously. "Anniversary?" "Yes, sir. 10 years today. We catered the wedding, actually. Mrs. Collins always requests the same champagne. Says it reminds her of their first toast as husband and wife." Ashley's hands shook as she opened the box. Inside wasn't the diamond upgrade she'd hoped for, but a USB containing our wedding video and a stack of incriminating photos. Her and Marcus entering various hotels, time-stamped receipts from their so-called business dinners, and credit card statements for purchases she thought she'd hidden. "Oh, and Mrs. Collins," Thomas added, "your husband asked me to remind you that your mother's birthday dinner is still on for Saturday." Though he mentioned the guest list might need adjusting. Ashley's face crumpled. Her mother adored me, always bragging about her son-in-law. Learning about the affair would devastate her, especially knowing Ashley had skipped our anniversary dinner for her lover. Marcus tried to salvage the situation. "This is just a business dinner." "Of course, sir," Thomas interrupted. "Though our records show you've had this business dinner every Thursday for the past 3 months. Always with the same champagne. Always on Mr. Collins's corporate account." Ashley's eyes widened. "You've been charging our dates to his company card." I approached the table. "Actually, he's been charging everything to my account. Hotels, too. Amazing what corporate expense tracking software can uncover these days." Ashley jumped as if shocked. "James, I can explain. The weekly hotel meetings? The champagne you're supposedly allergic to? Or maybe how you forgot our anniversary to meet my biggest client." Marcus stood, puffing out his chest. Now wait a minute. Sit down, Marcus. Unless you want me to call your wife next. I'm sure she'd love to hear how you've been spending the consulting fees my company pays you. The room grew eerily quiet. Marcus sat, his earlier bravado gone. Ashley stared at the photos, her carefully constructed world crumbling. How long have you known? She whispered. Long enough to get everything documented, I replied. Including the transfers from our joint account to your new private one. I turned to Marcus. The one you convinced her to open for your future together. Marcus's face paled. You can't prove. Actually, I can. Banking records are fascinating, especially when your wife still uses your birthday as her password. The transfers align perfectly with your Thursday meetings. Almost like you were charging her for your time. Ashley's head snapped up. What transfers? Oh, he didn't tell you? I said coldly. Show her your phone, Marcus. Show her where her retirement savings really went. Ashley's voice broke. He said it was for our future home. The only thing he's been investing in is his gambling debt, which is why he's been charging everything to my corporate account. His credit cards were maxed out months ago. Thomas returned with a folder. The receipts you requested, Mr. Collins. All charges to your account for the past 6 months. Ashley grabbed it before Marcus could. Her face crumpled as she saw the evidence. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, jewelry she thought were gifts, all charged to me. You used him, she whispered. Used us? Baby, I can explain, Marcus started. Don't call her baby, I snapped. She's still my wife. I checked my watch. 12 more hours. My lawyer files the papers first thing tomorrow. Lawyer. Ashley's voice wavered. James, please, we can work this out. Like how you worked out stealing from our accounts. Or the credit card you took out in my name. Marcus tried to interject. That was her idea. Sit down, I snapped. I'm not finished. The police will want to talk to both of you about that credit card. Identity theft is serious. Almost as serious as embezzlement from a publicly traded company. Their faces drained of color. That's right, I said, turning to leave. Enjoy the rest of your evening. It's on me. The SEC was deeply interested in how a VP of sales had manipulated contracts to increase his commissions. Almost as interested as they were in the insider trading you convinced my wife to help you with. Ashley started crying. I didn't know your boyfriend was using company information I gave him to make illegal trades. The evidence suggests otherwise, I replied, sliding the USB drive across the table. Those texts you thought you deleted? Cloud backups are amazing. Marcus finally broke. Look, we can make a deal. Like the deal you made with my wife? The one where she emptied our accounts while you emptied my company. I said, everything's already been sent to the SEC. Oh, and Marcus, your wife got copies too. The next 24 hours were a whirlwind. Marcus was arrested before finishing his creme brulee. Turns out there was already a warrant out for securities fraud. The SEC had just been waiting for more evidence, which I had provided. Ashley scrambled to do damage control, calling everyone we knew with her version of events. But I had spent weeks preparing. Her family already had copies of everything. The photos, the bank statements, the texts discussing how to hide their affair from clueless James. Is it true? Her mother demanded when she showed up at our house. You missed your anniversary dinner to be with him? Ashley was still trying to explain when her father arrived with more bad news. The family trust she was set to inherit had a morality clause. Her grandfather had insisted on it to protect the family's reputation. You're cut off, he said. The trust committee voted unanimously after seeing the evidence. Stealing from your husband, insider trading, identity theft. What were you thinking? Daddy, please. Don't daddy me. You're 40, not 14. You made your choices. Now live with them. Marcus's wife, Claire, was equally unforgiving. She showed up at Ashley's office the next morning and tossed divorce papers on her desk in front of everyone. Hope he was worth it, she announced loudly. Because you're both named in the lawsuit. Every penny he stole, every account he emptied. I'm coming for it all. The company didn't wait for the SEC investigation to conclude. Ashley was escorted out that afternoon, her corporate email already disabled. Her colleagues watched silently as she carried out her designer handbag, probably the last expensive thing she'd owned for a while. You knew, she accused when she came home to find me packing. You knew about Marcus's gambling, the stolen money. I figured it out when you started moving money from our accounts. Did you really think I wouldn't notice half our retirement savings disappearing? He said he needed it temporarily, she stammered. For what? More insider trading? Or was it for the sports book he's into for 6 figures? I handed her a printout. Here's his real financial statement, the one he didn't show you when promising your dream life. She sank onto the porch steps, staring at the numbers. This can't be right. He said a lot of things, just like you did. Remember when you suggested putting the house in your name for tax purposes? Guess that plan's shot now that the SEC is freezing both your assets. My assets, she whispered. Yes, your assets. The texts say otherwise, Ashley. You two weren't very careful discussing illegal activities on company phones. Her face crumpled as reality set in. What am I supposed to do now? Start by calling Marcus. Oh wait, he's in custody. He didn't even bother warning you before trying to flee to the Caymans. The SEC investigation revealed the full extent of their schemes. Marcus wasn't just gambling with stolen money. He was running a fraud operation using my company's inside information. Ashley had been his unwitting accomplice, feeding him data she thought was for their future together. At his sentencing, Marcus tried blaming Ashley in a desperate plea deal. She was the mastermind, he claimed. She set up the trades using accounts in my name. His lawyer corrected him wearily. It wasn't the first time Marcus had tried shifting blame. The judge wasn't impressed. Mr. Wheeler, the evidence shows this is your pattern. 3 companies, 3 affairs, 3 schemes. Ashley realized she wasn't special, just another pawn he'd manipulated. Marcus got 15 years for securities fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering, plus restitution. Ashley, who cooperated, got 5 years probation and hefty fines. But the legal punishment was redundant. She'd already lost everything: her family, her career, her reputation. Her parents disowned her after learning she tried to transfer the house into her name. You didn't just betray your husband, her father said. You tried to steal from him too. The divorce was quick. She argued I'd forced her to sign the prenup under duress. The judge didn't buy it. Mrs. Collins, you committed identity theft while engaging in an affair. Your credibility is lacking. Claire's lawsuit took the rest. Every asset Ashley owned was liquidated to pay Marcus's victims. Mutual friends said she moved back to her hometown, living in a tiny studio apartment and working as a receptionist, the only job she could get with a fraud conviction. 6 months later, the SEC found Marcus's hidden offshore account. You'll never guess, the investigator said. He was charging her for the affair. Every Thursday, he moved funds from an account in her name. Double dipping, right up until the end. I sent Ashley the bill from our last anniversary dinner, including the velvet ring box I never used. The package was returned unopened. Her new address didn't accept deliveries after 6 p.m. The ring? I donated it to a charity auction for investment fraud victims. It seemed fitting, something beautiful coming from betrayal.